After the 80s cartoon, there was only one other animated adaptation of Dungeons & Dragons, and none have ever come out since. And after watching this, I can see why. Dragonlance, Dragons of Autumn Twilight, was a direct-to-DVD film released in 2008 that was a hybrid mix of CGI and traditional 2D animation. Oh good! They were experimenting! That usually goes over well. And for a small budget film, it got some great celebrity talent like Kiefer Sutherland, Lucy Lawless, and Michael Rosenbaum, whose name they misspelled in the end credits. As well as many great voice actors like Fred Tatasciore, Jason Marsden, and Phil Lamar. The movie was based on the Dragonlance storyline from Dungeons & Dragons, which consisted of a series of novels as well as a campaign. Like I said in the last review, I'm not very familiar with Dungeons & Dragons, let alone this specific story. Matter of fact, the only time I ever heard anyone talk about this was years ago when Spoony reviewed the NES game.
Riceland's gonna clear it, and he floats, and he's dead. One hit, he's dead. The most powerful wizard in all of Kryn, dead in one hit?
It's not very good. While we're at it, yes, it turns out Acrobat is a class in Dungeons & Dragons. I guess everyone I talked to that plays the game didn't know that either. So to avoid any more misinformation, I think it would be best if I just take this movie at face value. After all, a good adaptation will be able to stand on its own. So let's see how they screwed this one up. Here's Dragonlance, Dragons of Autumn Twilight. So this fantasy movie opens in space, obviously, as we see what I assume is a satellite view of Colorado after marijuana got legalized. Oh no. No. Boy, I never thought something that's supposed to look so dramatic could be so bland. I especially like this part right here. That's hilarious. He's all like, ah, gotcha! Then we cut to where all good fantasy adventures begin, the tavern.
I just need to rest these tired bones while I await this evening's festivities.
With all these goblins around, I'm afraid this place isn't as festive as it used to be.
I should probably have a more appropriate emotional response to this. So, not Gandalf here sits by the stock fire effect and exposits some backstory. He tells of the gods of light giving mankind magic and guidance to fight off the evil Takesis and her dragon army.
In the end, with the help of the gods of light, especially the warrior god Paladin, the good peoples of Kryn prevailed, saving the world from the evil reign of Takesis.
Away with you, CGI abomination! Come back in 10 years when your technology's been perfected! You know, there is something to be said about a traditionally animated character defeating a CGI character, but it's kind of hard to feel that way when they're both bad. But of course, the humans went mad with power, so the gods turned on them, and the world is now divided, blah blah blah, hubris, you know the drill. But it seems Takesis is still around, and she learns about a staff that could potentially bring back the gods of light. So she's now looking for it with the help of her minion, Verminard. His name is Verminard? What's his last name, McEvil Guy?
That staff has the power to reawaken the gods of light. It must not be allowed to reach Zaxxaroth.
I will let nothing interfere with your plans, my queen. I'm sending my greatest warrior to guard the city, even if the staff reaches Zaxxaroth.
Wow, good job focusing on the Dragon Girl's tits there, movie.
Capture the staff and guard the discs with your life.
And don't forget to show off dat ass when you leave. There we go. We then meet some of our main characters, Flint the dwarf and Tanis the half-elf.
Hello, old friend.
Old? Well, you've learned no manners in 5 years. Hoisting me around like a sack of potatoes. I hope no one saw us.
No homo!
So, did you find what you went looking for?
Proof the gods have returned? No. I heard tales of magical healing, but it was all trickery. I never found any real healing magic, which means it's true. The gods abandoned Krynn 300 years ago. I guess my faith in them was misplaced.
Oh good, a crisis of faith subplot. This is going to be the fantasy equivalent of one of those Christian movies the Cinema Snob reviews, isn't it? Then some goblins show up to cause trouble.
You are under arrest.
By whose authority?
My own! I am Viewmaster Toad, leader of the forces keeping Solace safe from undesirable elements like yourselves.
Why can't you be pretty like we are? Then we get a fight scene worthy of being in Mortal Kombat: The Journey Begins. Thankfully, this awkward fight is brought to an end when we meet another main character, Tasselhoff the Pickpocket. After ditching the goblins, they head to the tavern we saw earlier. You can play all the whimsical music you want, this movie's still crap. There they meet up with some old friends, Sturm the Knight and Caramon the Warrior.
Is your brother coming?
I am already here.
I've been waiting in the shadows for hours, so my reveal looks cool. Did it work? This is Raceland the Mage, who's become sickly after some adventure that was briefly mentioned, but not shown in this movie. Guess it's not that important. Cover your mouth!
Hey, how come you're so short?
Well, it makes it easier to sneak away from goblins or evil wizards.
Evil wizard? I never met an evil wizard before.
Have you seen an acting coach before? Because I think you need one. Some might find this scene offensive because it objectifies the barmaid. Others might find it adorable because it's the start of an awkward young love story. I can't find it to be either because the animation is so bad. Stop! Just stop! So then some local fanatic starts harassing not Gandalf, but is stopped by two more characters, Goldmoon and her companion Riverwind.
I take what I want!
Okay, movie, you gave me a laugh. You might not have intended to, but I'll give you a point. Just one. Turns out her staff has healing powers, and for some reason this freaks everyone out.
We must leave.
Run from this rabble?
There's something about that staff. We can't let it fall into goblin hands.
Then I will stay and face these foul goblins in mortal combat.
Oh, please, that's Xena. She don't need your help. After a quick escape and another awkward fight later, they manage to get away and regroup in a cave.
Your staff healed that man at the inn. How?
I don't know. I haven't had it very long.
Where'd you get it?
Riverwind discovered it on a quest to an ancient abandoned city.
Sure, it was just a side quest, but we got mad EXP from it. They plan to take the staff somewhere so it can be protected, so they decide to head off.
All you need to know, Candor, is that none who enter Darkenwood ever return.
Sounds like an adventure just waiting to happen.
We're already on an adventure.
You're gonna get us all killed, Shorty. Don't make us put you on a leash.
Task, can you scout ahead?
Finally, something fun to do. Don't worry, Tannis. Be right back. You're one who loves a sailing ship that anchors at our pier.
I hope he doesn't come back. But then they get ambushed by... oh my god. Oh boy, I can't take this seriously. It's too hilarious. And the stock sound effects don't help either. You came to the wrong neighborhood, you two-dimensional punk! Okay, look, we've established the animation is bad, and there's really only so much I can say about it, so let's just try to deal with it for now. They run into a unicorn that looks like it's been standing there for too long, and it tells them to take the staff to a place called Zaxxaroth. After a quick ride on some Pegasi? Winged horses, and they eventually make it to the city and find it populated by more draconians and gully dwarves. Oh god, we're living the NES game now! This movie is never gonna end! Fortunately, in this version, they find themselves a guide, so this won't take forever.
Su Tungus Moipar as Acular Calipad. It's safe, you can come out now.
What did you do to her?
A spell of friendship.
Yeah, call it what you want, Raceland. Inside, they find dragon tits asleep on top of a pile of gold, as dragons like to do.
Look for a book with a dark cover, stamped with runes of silver.
Yes, find for you.
So that's why you wanted to come here. For a spell book.
It could help us in our fight against the evil army.
Don't give me that. You want its power for yourself.
Don't point fingers, Tannis. You seek the gods for one reason, because you think they can resolve the war between your elven and human halves before it tears you apart.
I don't need a lecture from someone who's willing to endanger the lives of his friends.
Can you guys not argue in front of the sleeping dragon, please? And there it is. Goldmoon defeats the dragon, but ends up vanishing into a cheap video effect. The others manage to escape, but Tannis runs into a temple, furious that the gods would take Goldmoon.
What kind of gods are you that you demand a human sacrifice? I wanted to believe in you, but we don't need you.
Tannis, as I've said many times before, some gods are just dickish like that. But this must be a shrine to the gods of irony because they find her on the floor there. And she's now able to use the healing magic without the staff.
She cast that spell without using those funny words. Why can't you do that, all-powerful mage?
She's channeling the power of a god, you dolt. I'm wresting arcane energies from the very fabric of the universe. It's completely different.
Also, shut up! On their way back, our band of idiots get captured by the goblins and they get put into wagons with some people from the tavern. Fortunately, with the help of some elves and not Gandalf's magic, they manage to escape. The elves tell them that Takhisis' dragons will be approaching soon and they need time to escape. So they plan to head off to hold off her forces and free some humans that were captured, but first Tannis gets a visit from an old girlfriend.
Leave with me and we can finally be married. I'm sure my father would perform—
Your father once said I was half of one thing and all of nothing. He'll never agree to our marriage. And stop trying to convince me of something that'll never be true. I've fallen in love with a human woman, Kitiara. With her, I'm accepted for who I am.
Wow, just when I couldn't like him any less. They sneak in to free the slaves, but are met with some resistance.
You're the witch that caused the attack on Solace! It's because of you that we're all here! This is your fault! My wife is dead because of you!
Verminard is the one who took your wife from you, as he took my family from me. I'm not a witch. I am a cleric of Meshakal.
Why should we believe you?
We would rather be outraged instead of freed! After healing this guy, she earns their trust, but discover the children are being held elsewhere. So they hilariously disguise themselves as women to sneak in, and discover the children are being looked after by a very unlikely babysitter.
Who is it?
We're here to take the children for their exercise.
The little ones had a restful night. Keep an eye on little Eric. I think he's getting a cold.
Okay, horrible CGI aside, and yes, it is horrible. I kind of love this. There's something kind of awesome and adorable about a dragon looking after a bunch of children. You could probably write a whole movie around that concept alone.
We're taking them to the roof to look at the mountains.
Well, be careful they don't fall off. My children's wings haven't grown in yet.
She thinks they're her own offspring.
We'll keep them safe.
We love you, Mama Dragon. Outside, we see some copy and pasted draconians that give me flashbacks of my food fight review. God, this movie's like every bad cartoon I've ever reviewed come back to haunt me. Lord Verminous Scum spots them trying to escape and starts burning everyone. But our heroes tell Mama Dragon on him and she's not having any of it.
Verminard's killing your children! You have to stop him!
Destroy them all!
Yes! Get him, Mama Dragon! Save your children!
My children will live!
Mama Dragon, no! You pricks got the only likable thing in this movie killed! So they fight off all the Draconians. Tannis does a thing that has the sound effect for the proton packs from Ghostbusters for some reason. Then Not Gandalf turns into Not Gandalf the White, aka Paladin from the flashbacks earlier, who once defeated Takesis. Because that's who he was the whole time, apparently. Vermin Bad Guy gets skewered, the slaves that didn't get barbecued are happy, I guess. Gold Moon and Riverwind get married, and it looks like Tannis' ex-girlfriend is on the rebound. Good for her. Then the movie ends with a teaser for another adventure that never happened.
You summoned me, Dragon High Lord Kitty.
Oh no, we missed out. This movie sucks. But it probably didn't have to. Let's get the obvious out of the way first. The animation is very cheap. I heard this movie had a low budget, but this is low budget for like the 80s or 90s. And the 2D, 3D hybrid they tried to do with it was ambitious, but it only made things worse. Cheap 2D animation can sometimes be forgiven, but cheap CGI always looks bad. Also, there was a lot of exposition in this movie. There were whole scenes in this movie that were brought to a halt so they can talk about stuff like previous adventures or Raceland being shifty and power-hungry or something. They also mention other characters that sound important, like Raceland and Karamon's sister that Tannis is in love with, which is why he dumped his elf girlfriend. They talk about her several times, but we don't even see her until the very end of the movie. And she doesn't even have any speaking lines. So why even bring her up at all? There was also a subplot I left out of the review about them finding some discs that were important, but they couldn't read them. So at the end of the movie they run into this guy who can, and that's it. We never see what they do. I'm sure this is something important from the storyline, but bringing it up here just felt kind of pointless. Even some of our so-called main characters barely did anything. Most of them were just kind of there until there was a big battle or something. Maybe this would make sense if you're familiar with the source material, and I feel like a lot of this was made for people like that, but honestly I can't even see fans of this story getting much out of this movie. The worst part was Tannis' constant faith crisis. That kind of thing could make for an interesting plot, but it happened like every 5 minutes. I didn't show it very well in this review, but basically something would happen, he'd say something like, "Why have the gods abandoned us?" Things would work out and he'd get his faith back, I guess. Rinse and repeat. It got really annoying. It's a shame this turned out the way it did because it seemed like the story could have lent itself well to an adaptation. And there was a lot of good talent that got wasted here. I even heard Kiefer Sutherland extensively research Raceland's character for his role, even going so far as to make sure he pronounced all of his spells correctly. It's kind of sad that a well-known IP like Dungeons & Dragons had such bad luck with adaptations. I still stand by that the 80s cartoon is the best one so far. It has its flaws, but it's still engaging enough to enjoy. Maybe Dragonlance will get a proper adaptation someday, but as far as this movie goes, you can skip it. Well, there's only one thing left to do with this. So from this point forward, unless there's some kind of special occasion or something, all of my reviews are going to remain a secret. So join me next time when we take a look at another cartoon from the archive. Thanks for watching.
was once told that bitches like mysterious mother. So ever since then, I tried to be a mysterious mother.